Hello, new YouTube family. It is Cindy Fucile from the Happy Singing Kosher Carnivore channel. What I wanted to talk about today, this came up in a lot of discussions I've been having lately, and it came up, I am, as you all already know, if you've seen my first video, I am very involved with Kelly Hogan, My Zero Carb Life. I attend her weekly classes, and not only was I interviewed in one of her podcasts, but it came up in one of my classes with her that I have been dealing obviously with some medical issues, which started me on my carnivore journey. But one of the things that was so overwhelming and so instrumental in my path to starting the carnivore diet was my decision to have a thermography exam versus a mammogram. And today I'm going to discuss the difference between the two and what set me on this journey. Because I have had cancer come and go in my life more than once. And I had to say enough is enough. Back in like 2002, I had cervical cancer. I was stage 3C. Praise the Lord, I beat it through change in diet. I started drinking baking soda water and a plethora of other things. I guess I can talk about that in another video. But then when I lived in Illinois, some tumors appeared on my kidneys. And then a few years ago, I had a tumor appear on my left lung and my left ovary. And obviously, traditional medicine wasn't working. So today I'm going to discuss my path towards the decision to have a thermography versus a mammogram and the health benefits of it. My disclaimer, first of all, I'm not a medical doctor. I am not giving medical advice. This was just part of my story. So take it for what you have, but it was worth every penny. And unfortunately, whether you live in Canada or the United States or anywhere else in the world, a lot of times thermography is not covered by the government or any sort of medical insurance you have. So everything is out of pocket, but worth every penny. Wanted to start off today. I am reading from the KosherInstitute.com. It is for functional and evolutionary medicine. He writes some really good things, Chris Kresser. This is an article published on April 6, 2017. Mammography has been the medical industry's gold standard for breast cancer screening tool for nearly 4 decades, and the procedure has been pushed on women with great zeal by physicians, public health programs, and cancer organizations. However, mounting scientific evidence indicates that mammography may not be far less effective than we have been led to believe, and that it also has numerous drawbacks that are affecting women on a massive scale. Read on to learn about the major drawbacks of mammography and what the research recommends for breast cancer screening and about promising breast cancer detection alternatives. This is one of the websites that I went to when I was first having hesitations about having another mammogram. I guess I should throw this in. Every time I've had a mammogram, I started having mammograms when I was 25 because breast cancer runs in my family rabid. My mom had it, her mom had it, and I believe my great-grandmother had it. And so I was 25 and they saw things. And every time I've had a mammogram, oh, we saw something. And then I would have to have another mammogram. That's a lot of radiation being pumped into a body at a young 25-year-old kid. Anyway, going on. With this website, a brief history of mammography. Mammography screening for breast cancer was first introduced in the late 1970s, and by the early 1980s, it has been widely incorporated into clinical practice. Prior to the widespread use of mammography, breast cancer detection tests were primarily based on breast self-exams and clinical breast exams performed by physicians. In the very early days of mammography, This test was used only in women at high risk for breast cancer. Unfortunately, that was me. This included women who had a previous history of breast cancer, had a mother or sister with breast cancer, or who were over 50 years of age. Fast forward to the present day, it is quite apparent that the use of mammography has increased dramatically. According to recent data, 66.8% of women over the age of 40 have had a mammogram within the past 2 years. An average of 15 million physician office visits have taken place per year in which a mammogram was either ordered or performed, and an additional 3 million outpatient visits have ordered or performed mammograms. I'm seeing some money in this, just my opinion. Despite this massive increase in the use of mammography, there is substantial body of research indicating that the widespread over-enthusiastic practice of mammography over the past few decades has had little, no effect on breast cancer mortality rates. I'm going to read that again because I paused, and I think it's really important. It has indicated the widespread over-enthusiastic practice of mammography over the past few decades has had little to no effect on breast cancer mortality rates. In fact, the research indicates that mammography screening may do more harm than good. Mammography has demonstrated a number of adverse effects, including breast cancer overdiagnosis, unnecessary breast cancer treatment, undue psychological stress, that was definitely a huge one for me, excessive radiation exposure, and a serious risk of tumor rupture and spread of cancerous cells. Hello. A 17-year study conducted in Denmark from 1980 to 2010 measured the incidence of advanced less than 20 millimeters in size and non-advanced greater than 20 millimeters in size breast cancer tumors in women ages 35 to 84 who either had received regular breast cancer screening over the years or had not received screening. If mammography was effective at reducing the rates of advanced breast cancers, a reduction in the incidence of advanced tumors in the women who received the screening should have been observed. However, no difference was found in the incidence of advanced tumors between the screened and unscreened groups. In addition, significant overdiagnosis of breast cancer was found in the screened group. Approximately 1 out of 3 invasive tumors in cases ductal carcinoma, don't ask me how to pronounce this stuff, in situ, DCIS, was found to represent breast cancer overdiagnosis. This article goes on, and it's quite telling. Mammography selectively detects more favorable tumors. Is this a money thing? Again, the radiation from mammography may increase the risk of breast cancer. Mammography can rupture tumors and spread malignant cells. If you've ever had a mammogram, the girls are smushed, and it is a very painful process, especially, you know what, it doesn't matter what your breast size is. I've had friends who, very, very tiny breasts, and they're trying to just get their breast into the machine. For me, I'm a very large breasted woman, and trying to squish it down just to see the pictures. Let me tell you, I've left with bruises every single time. So now I've been pumped with radiation. Every single mammogram I've ever had, they say, oh, we found something, you got to come back. They're pumping more radiation into me. I was done. I now want to jump over to a new website just to get a second opinion and to show somebody else's medical research that they have done towards mammography versus thermography. This is healingthebody.ca. It is a Canadian website from where I am. Anyway, this is a part of one of their articles. Problems with mammograms. Its radiation tends to increase breast cancer risk, possibly quite significantly, especially if undertaken annually, as radiation could have cumulative carcinogenic effects. Also, the physical compression and manipulation of the breasts can cause existent tumors to spread. The rates of false positives and false negatives are high, and it may not even be effective at lowering overall breast cancer death rates. Mammography is not an acceptable way of screening breasts. The only reason it's tolerated is that it is a major source of steady income for radiologists. I agree. They have come to covet mammography and want no competition from other approaches, says Philip, I'm going to pronounce his name wrong, Philip Hoekstra, PhD, a pioneer in thermogram use. I like this guy, and I apologize, I can't pronounce his name properly. On this same website, he says, advantages and benefits of thermograms. Because neither ionizing radiation or mechanical pressure are used, thermography does not increase cancer risk or promote cancer spread, making it a safer procedure. And because there is no pain, the process is more comfortable as well. Unlike mammograms, which become less accurate with denser breast tissue, thermography's accuracy is not affected by tissue density. Significantly, in the case of breast cancer, thermograms can flag out cancer development 5 years before mammograms are able to do so. It does by showing up the early stages of, oh goodness, another big word for Cindy, angiogenesis, the formation of new blood vessels, which is a necessary precursor to tumor formation. Most breast tumors would have been slowly growing up for 2 decades before conventional diagnostic methods can detect them. And at an earlier stages of development, cancer tumors are relatively easy to stop and reverse. Thermograms can also detect breast cancer years earlier than physical examinations. So now, knowing that information, when I chose to do the thermography route, these are actual pictures from my thermography. These are very hard for me to look at. They see the chubbiness of my body at the time. And I'm only down 40 pounds since I started Carnivore. But everything that was highlighted on these next sheets that I'm about to go through were highlighted by my physician. And I did blood work to prove what they found in my thermography scan to be true. So again, this is very painful for me to talk about, but I feel like it's necessary for me to share my journey. And I'm willing to bet a lot of you out there may be dealing with some of these same things. You're debating about starting Carnivore and you're just not sure, and things aren't working. You even tried keto, weight wasn't coming off. You still feel horrible. This might be why. So again, a lot of people, when they start with their first thermogram, they will just do their breasts. I paid a little bit extra and I did my whole body. It was an ugly, it's an ugly thing. You do have to stand there in your birthday suit in front of a complete stranger. Female, at least it's female. But it is, it was worth every penny. Anyway, going on to what I found. So at this point, when I had the thermogram, unfortunately, I started off with the traditional medicine. They had already found a tumor on my left ovary, and they had already found a tumor on my left lung, and my blood pressure was plummeting. I think the lowest it went down to was like 70 something over 30 something. I wish I had those exact numbers. They're looking at me like, why are you, how are you even coherent? Anyway, so So this has already been found. Now I'm going to show you the write-up and some pictures from my actual thermogram test results. So what it basically does is uses infrared light. Now, every body is going to have some hot spots and some cool spots. That's normal. But when you see the number of reds and oranges and the spaces all over my body, you can see what was detected and why I was bound and determined to stop this horrible train that I was on. Okay, to the report itself. In the neck itself, you can see what has been highlighted. Hyperthermia at the ear canals is consistent with an inflammatory process. Again, Carnivore addresses inflammation. So this started everything. That was the first thing I read, and I was like, oh my gosh. While hot intensity to either side of the mouth, as seen on the close-up images, is consistent with bilateral dental inflammation. Hyperthermia across the submental region appears to be lymph-related. Asymmetry is seen towards the right, and thyroid gland dysfunction is a consideration. That turned out to be true. I've had a lot of dental issues. I've had root canals, tons of cavities. And, I'm the kid who's brushing her teeth all the time. I'm flossing, and it looks like I have horrible teeth. Inflammation. All right, moving on to the breast diagnosis. I can't pronounce any of this stuff, by the way. So for those who can pronounce it, maybe put a comment below and tell me how to pronounce this properly. Anyway, the axillae are warm bilaterally, consistent with associated lymphatic congestion. Congestive type hyperthermia is seen throughout the left lateral torso region. So again, my examiner highlighted this stuff. It was proven. Anyway, to my back. Hypothermia is noted at the T2 vertebrae level, and this finding is associated with clinical diagnosis of fibromyalgia. Now, a disclaimer, I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia after a head-on car crash that I had way back in 1988, and I had thoracic injuries. I also broke my C2, as I mentioned in the first video. So this is not new, but again, it's still showing up. This should have been fixed many years ago. Back to my report. Hypothermia is seen at the upper trapezius to either side, left to right, consistent with myofascial dysfunction. The right upper back region is more extensively warm. This is worrisome for inflammatory process involving the underlying lung. Again, this was because of the tumor, and it showed that this was a serious issue. Lower thoracic and, another big word for Cindy, lumbosacral. Any medical people out there are probably dying with this right now. Sorry. Anyway, lower thoracic and lumbosacral level hyperthermia is consistent with multi-level joint inflammation. This is where they mentioned arthritis, which I think is later in the report. But again, inflammation, and cancer is inflammation. Back to my little report, going down a little bit further. The hands are warm on the posterior images, and this appears consistent with arthritic activity. I was diagnosed through some blood work and other tests with rheumatoid arthritis. They found it in the thermography. Incredible. Lower extremities. Hypothermia at the lower buttocks, left to right, is suggestive of underlying hip joint dysfunction. Distinct hypothermic markings on both sides appear consistent with varicosities. They did find vasculitis in my blood, which I'll talk about here in a second as well. Now the joint dysfunction, sciatica. They told me I had sciatica. Inflammation. They turned out as soon as I reduced the inflammation in my kidney area from a better diet, my sciatica went away. Shocking. But again, this is where they found all of this stuff. Going down a little bit further. Further pulmonary assessment is encouraged, particularly in the context of clinical symptoms, dyspnea. Anyway, going back 20 years ago, I was on a blood thinner because I had an enlarged heart, and it was showing up again. And so I was just so done with all of these things. Again, these pictures are very hard for me to look at. You can see my chubbiness. You can see the redness in and around my mouth and the dental stuff. You should have a little bit there, but the examiner told me that I had way too much there. Around my forehead and the back of my neck, you can see up around my jaw, and you could see my C2 still very inflamed after a car accident from many, many years ago. Look at my back and around my shoulder areas, my trap muscles, way too much inflammation in my spine. The picture I blotted out and colored out in the middle are my girls, for nobody's eyesight except my husband's, but they were quite red. Going on to another page here, I'm okay with showing like a side view. But these first two pictures, look at the inflammation around under my armpits. That is thyroid, and my lymph glands were so congested. You can see my back and in and around my hip area, the inflammation. My legs weren't too bad, except when you look at these pictures around my knees, how inflamed they were. This was arthritis that had onset over time. But my thighs didn't look too bad, which were kind of nice. My ankles, surprisingly, because I deal with because of the lymphedema, weren't too inflamed. In fact, they were cold. You could see that they're blue, and that's because I wasn't getting circulation down there. So the thermography also shows where we're not getting circulation. My thighs are not getting the circulation needed. They should be more green, but they're more blue. Here's another picture, a side picture of my knee and my ankles, almost ice cold, again, because I wasn't getting the circulation. Now I want to show, this is a little sheet that my examiner had typed up after the thermography test. I had all my blood work. These are what I was diagnosed. These are just the autoimmune diseases that I was diagnosed with. IBD, inflammatory bowel disease. A lot of people will talk about IBS, irritable bowel syndrome. I had a full-blown disease that I was diagnosed with. Celiac, can't eat bread, gluten. Hashimoto's showed positive. Vasculitis, I mentioned that earlier. That's an inflammation in blood vessels that they told me. Hemolytic, again, sorry about the pronunciation. Hemolytic anemia, which is an immune system that destroys red blood cells. It's a deficiency in oxygen. And again, from my first video, I talked about how when I would have my seizures, I was having blood flow of oxygen not making it to my brain. It was still showing up, and now I've been diagnosed with epilepsy, which I'm going to beat. This carnivore is going to cure it. I have faith in God, and He's going to heal me of this. Anyway, the rheumatoid arthritis, other issues that I have dealt with over the years. This I knew going into that. PCOS, endometriosis, or the gal who typed it up, I believe it's endometriosis. Anyway, the endometriosis is going away. Still dealing with the PCOS, but let me tell you, everything else is gone. My IBD is gone. Hashimoto's is disappearing. Vasculitis is officially gone. Anemia is gone. Rheumatoid arthritis is gone. The tumor in my left lung is showing up again, gray and disappearing. The left ovary, it's not even showing up at all. These are things that Carnivore has done for my body, and I have victory in Yeshua for this, and I give Him all the credit. So again, this is what started me on my carnivore journey. And if you are struggling with carnivore, oh my gosh, I'm getting emotional. because I feel for you, and I know what I've been through, and I feel your pain, and I know how hard it is. And you're thinking in the back of your head, how can I only eat meat? My friends, view it as an affair. If you are married or in a serious relationship, is the sexual pleasure with another person for 15, 20 minutes worth destroying your marriage? Absolutely not, especially if you're a God-fearing person. Now view food the same way. Is that cookie worth destroying your body? Is that pizza or pasta or even vegetables that you're allergic to? I turned out I'm allergic to broccoli and asparagus and Brussels sprouts, and the temptation is there, and if I'm out to eat, sometimes I eat it and then I regret it. I instantly regret it because I feel miserable. Is it worth it? Absolutely not. So if you are struggling with weight loss and you're considering carnivore, do it. Give it a try. Give it 30 days. And then after 30 days, give it another 30 days, because you'll be so surprised of the health benefits from it. And again, for me, being a kosher clean person, do consider, even if you're just a Christian, staying away from the foods that God said for us not to eat. Look up what pork does to a body. Look up what shellfish does to a body. They're actually not good for us. And this is why I believe, go read Leviticus 11. It tells you what to eat, what not to eat. For me, red meat has been the golden ticket, and the difference that I have seen in my body. The tests are there. And consider having a thermography done. And it's not just for women. I've known men who have done it too. If you're having prostate issues, prostate cancer runs rabid in my family. My dad, his dad, my older brother, and thermography, could have helped this, cleaned up some of the issues long before they hit. And so anyway, I am due for another thermography in 2 years. My physician recommended clean up my diet. And they actually recommended carnivore. I didn't want to hear that because I thought, that's crazy. I can't just eat meat. That's insane. But I did it, and here I am. I'm still kicking. All of that said, and I was talking to somebody 2 days ago, and they said, but I thought keto cleans up epilepsy, and I believe that it does. And I'm still standing on the fact that I believe something has broken free. Again, seeing all these health benefits that carnivore has done for me, did something break free? Are these seizures going to be temporary? I am standing on that truth in the word of the Lord. So that's my story for today. And as I promised, I always have scripture verse because I think it's important. And with our season, I feel led to read Isaiah 53 in its entirety. So please read it with me. Who has believed our report? And to whom has the arm of Yahweh revealed? For he grew up before him as a tender plant and as a root out of dry ground. He has no form or splendor that we should look upon him, nor appearance that we should desire him. Despised and rejected by men, a man of pains and knowing sickness, and as one from whom the face is hidden, being despised, and we did not consider him. Truly, he has borne our sicknesses and carried our pains. Yet we reckoned him stricken, smitten by Elohim, that means God in Hebrew, and afflicted. This is hard for me to read. But he was pierced for our transgressions. He was crushed for our crookedness. The chastisement for our peace was upon him, and by his stripes we are healed. Is that not a picture of Yeshua, Jesus? We all like sheep went astray. Each one of us has turned to his own way, and Adonai has laid on him the crookedness of us all. He was oppressed and he was afflicted, but he did not open his mouth. He was led as a lamb to the slaughter, and as a sheep before its shearers is silent, he did not open his mouth. He was taken from prison and from judgment. And as for his generation, who considered that he shall be cut off from the land of the living. For the transgression of my people he was stricken, and he was appointed a grave with the wrong and with the rich at his death, because he had done no violence, nor was deceit in his mouth. But Adonai was pleased to crush him. He laid sickness on him, that when he made himself an offering for guilt, he would see a seed. He would prolong his days, and the pleasure of Yahweh prosper in his hand. He would see the result of the suffering of his life and be satisfied. Through his knowledge, my righteous servant makes many righteous, and he bears their crookedness. I can barely get through this. This is us, you guys. This is who he's talking about. His death saves us. Oh my goodness, this is mind-boggling. Therefore, I give him a portion among the great, and he divides the spoil with the strong, because he poured out his being unto death, and he was counted with the transgressors, and he bore the sin of many, and made intercession for the transgressors. How can you read that and not see Yeshua in there? It's just unbelievable. Sorry to cry and snot on all of you. It's just the season that we're in. I pray this season blesses you. I pray this video was informative. Again, if you have any questions that I did not address, please leave it in the comments below. But the other thing that I would like to encourage you, I would like to turn this channel into a prayer group. So if you have a prayer request and you're okay, let me say this another way. If you would just like me to pray, you can send me a private message. My email is thehappysingingkoshercarnivore@gmail.com. But if you don't mind it being public, leave it in the comments below, and I will publicly address and pray for your request on my next video. I think we need to be lifting each other up. I think we need to be praying for one another, and I think we need to conquer disease and tell disease where it needs to go. It needs to get lost with Lucifer and all his stupid minions. So in closing today, I have another song. This was written by my friend Jeannie Umdahl. A woman who was aborted and lived to tell about it. And this is a song I recorded of hers many years ago, I think back in 2007, called Your Blood Drops. And I pray that it blesses you today. May Yeshua bless you and keep you, make his face to shine upon you and lift his countenance upon you and give you his shalom. Thank you for listening today. Mwah! I love you all and welcome to my channel. Subscribe.